Well, our next guest is in Dallas, and she's here to talk today about the top 5 deadly mistakes buyers make. She's a top associate with RE/MAX Premier Group and in the top 20 for RE/MAX in all of Texas. Please welcome back to the show, Miss Nina Bhanot. Hi, Nina. Thank you so much for coming back to the American Dream.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me back.
So I'm so excited to dive into these top 5 deadly mistakes that buyers can make. And I imagine sometimes maybe that is also financially as well, kind of getting the ducks in a row in order to purchase a home. So are any of those top 5 deadly mistakes have to do anything financially?
Yes, one of the, after working with some buyers over time, first-time home buyers as well as experienced home buyers, there's kind of some mistakes that I tend to see. One that's kind of tied to a financial is not getting pre-approved. So it's important for a buyer to meet with their lender or meet with their bank to get pre-approved so they can really determine how much house can they afford. And also getting pre-approved helps us when we negotiate with the seller because it really demonstrates to the seller that they can close on time. So that would be one of the first mistakes that I think buyers would make when it is more related to the financial issues. The second mistake I see buyers make is they're not really aware of the total costs involved. So, we focus on the mortgage payment, and the mortgage payment is important, but there's also other costs that happen throughout the process. So it may be the homeowners association fees, your home insurance, your appraisal value. So it's important for a buyer to know what those costs are going to be so they can have liquid cash available to cover those costs, and then ultimately also knowing what the final closing costs will be. So those are kind of the 2 financial related mistakes I see buyers make.
Okay, so definitely knowing all of those costs, like you said, sometimes might not seem like you need as much on the surface, but you might need more with all the different costs that you did detail. Now, what about buyers that they just want to get into a house that they love?
Exactly. We all want to get into a house we love, don't we?
Yeah, of course.
It's important to buy a house that you love, but I think it's more important to buy a house that's going to sell whenever you decide to sell it. So to me, this is one of the most important mistakes that buyers make, is that they really don't consider the resale value of a home. And when I'm taking my buyers through homes and we're taking a look at different properties, I try and point out items that are great for resale. So, is it in a good school neighborhood? Are the ratings for schools great? Does it have good closets and good storage? I mean, I don't think you can ever have too much storage in a house.
I would agree.
All of those elements are great when you are looking at a house that could help it appreciate in value and be good for resale. But also, going through a property and saying, well, what hinders resale value? Does it back to a busy street? You don't want to be too close to commercial and retail. Here in Dallas, master bedrooms on the 2nd floor don't sell as well as masters on the 1st floor. If you're an out-of-town buyer, you may not know that. So kind of being aware of the things that may be unique to your market, but also how that would impact your resale for a house when you're looking to sell it.
I love that because it's sort of that forward thinking just in case it comes around to selling this. And I know at times when, like you said, people get into the homes that they love, it can be a little bit of that emotional attachment. So maybe the resale value's not on their minds, but at least an agent like you is there to sort of remind them of that, to have that forward thinking. So I love that point. So we talked about 3 deadly mistakes. What are the final 2?
So I would say the next one is kind of an easy one, but things that sometimes buyers don't do is they don't get a home inspection. It's really important to get a home inspection and get a qualified inspector to inspect the house. You don't want to try to save a little bit of money now that's going to cost you a lot of money in the future. So it just also helps you plan any major repairs that may be on the horizon so that you know what kind of cash you may need available and you can have those repairs planned for. Sure. The last mistake I would say that buyers make is they kind of limit their searches to open houses and online resources. You really should leverage your realtor, use them, and find out what information do they have that could help you with your buyer search. So a lot of times we have access to hip pocket listings, homes that haven't even hit the market yet. And we can show you those homes, get you into those properties, and they may work out to be a great fit for a buyer. I personally also work with a lot of builders in the area, so knowing what builders have what inventory homes coming up. Also, what incentives do they offer? There's some incentives that they advertise, but when you actually have relationships with builders, you kind of know a little bit of the inside information as to what else they may be able to do to sweeten up a deal for a buyer. And then also, just as realtors, we have a lot of market data. So what neighborhoods are maybe appreciating in value that you want to get into? What neighborhoods are a little bit stagnant and on the decline that you might not want to buy a property in there? So I kind of feel like that those would be the last two, I would say, biggest mistakes that buyers make when they are starting their home search.
All right, Nina, thank you so much for that detailed insight. It's no wonder that you are in the top 20 for RE/MAX in Texas. I know if I was a buyer, I would definitely want you on my side. So thank you for giving us those top 5 deadly mistakes that we see buyers make sometimes. Thank you for coming back to the American Dream.
Thank you. It's been great being here. And, you know, buying a house should be a fun process. And so if they can try and avoid some of these mistakes, you know, it would make it a smoother process, and buying a home should be fun. So that's the goal throughout the process.
And they can check out on your website as well these top 5 deadly mistakes too?
Yes, these are the top 5, I'd say, but there's other mistakes that buyers make along the way. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to visit my website, and I can share with you some of the other mistakes buyers make and how you can minimize that to lead to a smoother transaction.
All right, Nina, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
And you're watching The American Dream. Stick around. We'll be right back.